Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Witcher. If you sit at an IEP table, you belong here. For over 25 years, I've been helping parents, teachers, admins, and therapists build IEPs that work in the real world, and I can't wait to help you. Let's dive in. So I was talking with a master IEP coach, helping her help a family through a situation that comes up all the time inside of our disability community. And it's something that should not be happening, but it is happening. That's a student with an IEP being denied access to general education because they can't keep up. We have an IEP in place. We have a plan to help this child have a meaningful education, to be prepared for further education, employment, independent living. That does not mean that a child's going to get everything within their IEP and keep up with their peers who are in general education. That's simply not what happens in majority of cases. Sure, there's some exceptions. However, most of the time when we have an IEP, there's going to be a gap that we continue to work on and we continue to help a child move forward. And that gap is not always going to close or close quickly or close at the same pace as the general education peers, right? Okay, so I'm coaching this master IEP coach and she's telling me about how a child who is in approximately, I believe it was third grade, can't keep up with their peers. And therefore, the team is recommending that the child repeat third grade. And I can tell you from this situation, it is not the right solution for this child. But even bigger than that, then I was talking to another family and they're getting the same answer, only theirs is not about retention. It's sorry, the child's going to move on, but they're going to be removed from all general education classes because they can't keep up. And then there was a third situation. And I'm like, 3 situations in 1 week. We have got to talk about this. Okay, so I've actually got some notes in front of me because I want to make sure, because this topic puts me on fire because it's looking at special education in a different way, right? We have to show some leadership and bring some strategies to IEP teams so we can get around this. And here's the thing, I want to make this very clear. The teachers involved in all 3 of these cases that I was consulting on and coaching coaches through last week, the teachers are kind of at a loss. They're like, well, the admin says. And I will tell you that the admin in 2 out of these 3 situations does not have special education experience. And that's not unheard of. So a lot of times when we're looking at these strategies, we're looking at how do we educate the people who are involved and point them into the right resources where it's not just, this is what we want. It's that there's actual laws. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. I tell you where to look, but there's actual laws that say we can't just make this blanket statement of, sorry, your child can't keep up. They need to go to a different classroom. So a lot of times parents are going into, I'm going to call it the basic argument of least restrictive environment. They're saying, no, my child needs to be in general education because they need to be in the least restrictive environment. Now, that's a valid conversation for some situations. However, least restrictive environment can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And a school district or an administrator can come back and say, well, least restrictive environment, but it's also our duty to make sure that your child's making meaningful progress. And if they can't make progress inside then of this general education classroom, which you're calling the least restrictive environment, then we need to look at a different way to deliver services outside of that classroom. And it becomes this big kind of negotiation over least restrictive environment. And I actually want to take this to the next level. I want to take it away from just that simple argument of least restrictive environment. And I want to look at a couple of things. One, I talk about inclusion all the time as inclusion is an experience, not a place. So I'm looking for inclusive experiences throughout the entire school. And then one of those can be general education classes. When we're looking at general education classes as an inclusion experience, I want to know what is the desired kind of interaction, what's the desired relationship, what's the desired connection, what's the desired skills. I want to look at a lot of different layers inside of the classroom to say, why are we in this classroom? Why are we here? Are we really here to get all of the 6th grade science mastered? Are we really here because we want this child to make sure that they pass all of the standards for sixth grade science right now during the sixth grade year? Or are there other pieces inside of this sixth grade science class that we're working on perhaps other areas of the IEP also? Maybe some of it is academics, maybe some of it is science and it's math. It also could be communication. It could be social. It could be a lot of different things that we could be working on inside of a science class. It's not just limited to the general education curriculum. That's one of the big reasons that we say a child does not have to keep up with general education curriculum in order to have exposure to the curriculum. So to be in that room and to be exposed to the concepts, and then to also be able to work on other areas as appropriate. So it's not always about mastering all of the curriculum. It's about getting exposure, and then we need to make sure some other things are in place. So first we have to define what is inclusion about in that room at that time. What are we trying to achieve? Then we have to make sure that we have covered all of the things of accommodations, modifications, additional supports, adaptive materials, assistive technology, which is so underutilized in special education, and it needs to be utilized at a much higher level. And then do we need to adapt any instruction? And that could be instruction outside of the classroom, as in some pre-teaching of the skills. It could be some practice of the skills afterwards. It could be making sure that we're delivering the instruction in a way that connects with the students. So some teachers are very verbal, right? Like they don't have a lot of tangible materials. They're doing a lot of talking about it, and maybe the child needs more tangibles. Or maybe it's a very like kind of independent work-based kind of class where there's a lot of tangibles, but there's not a lot of instruction. It could be either way. So we have to make sure instruction. So there's 6 areas for you to double check, like things that we need to work on inside of this concept of what is going on. Least restrictive environment. Then we need to make sure, why are we here? Like, what are we looking to really accomplish during this class period? And then we touched points on all of those things that I just mentioned of the accommodations, modifications, supports, assistive technology, all of those things. Have we done all of those things? See, there is absolutely no one statement that says if a child cannot achieve X, then they can't go to Y. Meaning, like, if they can't keep up with their peers, they can't go to the general education class. Absolutely not. This is an individualized program. Every decision is individualized. And there's 2 statements that I teach all the time inside of our Master IEP Coach community. And I'm going to share them with you here because you can use them with every situation. It's show me the policy and can you write that down? If you notice, those are not argumentative statements. They're really not. They might be a little awkward for parents to kind of bring to the table sometimes, but hey, this is what we do. If a child doesn't do this amount of work, so for this situation, we're talking about general education. If the child cannot do this, then they go over here. That's a very general statement. Parents hear it all the time. I'll be honest with you, most parents say, okay, well, the school said that if my child can't do this, then they go do that. No. Show me the policy that says that you have to, if this happens, then this happens. Sometimes there's policies for situations, not in this situation. There's no way that you're going to find something. And the other thing is, can you write that down? Means can you put that no in writing? So you're saying that, my child has to be removed from all general education classes because they cannot keep up with their peers academically. Is that true? Yes. Okay. Can you write that down? I know that sounds, kind of fierce, right? Where it's just like, okay, like let me just clarify. You're saying this, let's write that down. And a lot of times that will open up the conversation of, well, that's not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, okay, so these are strategies to actually eliminate arguments and move forward to solutions. When you become a Master IEP Coach, and I truly hope that you consider joining me on a Master IEP Coach fast track, where you can become a Master IEP Coach in 30 days, get your business up and running so you can master these skills for yourself. I just dropped a lot of different strategies here. And that was just surface level. There's strategies within those strategies to make sure that we stay out of the high conflict, to make sure that we're moving forward through these situations, that to make sure that we're not having these kind of umbrella statements of if a child can't keep up with general education peers, they can't go to general education classes. So there's a lot of layers to this. So when you become a Master IEP Coach, you get what you need when it comes to knowledge of like, what do you need to know? And you don't need to know everything about special education to be an excellent master IEP coach. I teach you how to get really specialized in certain areas to make sure you're the best of the best to help families through the IEP process in that area. So you need knowledge. You also need leadership. You have to be able to rise above and be able to bring people with you along on this journey to look at special education differently. So you need your leadership, and then you need strategies. And you need strategy. When you're a master IP coach, if you're going to do this to help other people through the system, you need strategies, not just advocacy strategies, special education strategies, but you also need business strategies, because you could be the most brilliant person to help people through the IEP process. But if nobody knows about you, if you don't know how to set up that, one-page website, if you don't know how to do the client invoices, if you don't know what to charge, if you don't know how to set up all your systems and structures behind the scenes, then it's not going to work. So I've been doing this for a long time, 25 years on my own. This has been my core work. And since 2017, I've been teaching others how to set up and become the person that parents can rely on to give them the truth and help them through the school system collaboratively. Here's the thing. I'm not looking to pick fights with anybody. I'm not looking to say parents against schools, schools against parents. Absolutely not. In fact, I've been able to bridge that gap. I've done consulting for schools, a lot of consulting for schools. I deliver a lot of professional development for teachers. I go around and I teach at parent support groups. I've got online, communities where I'm teaching these strategies all the time. This is about bringing it together, because this old school kind of habit of, if a child can't do this, then they can't have that. That's just not true. And we can break that. But what it takes parents and teachers like you to step up and really make this ripple effect, this positive ripple effect of this knowledge and leadership and strategy, and getting more parents to understand what is possible without having to throw around ugly legal terms. I mean, it is important. I did not know when I became a teacher many, many, many years ago, I did not know that I didn't know what I didn't know, right? But I did not know that certain things that my boss was saying of like, well, that's just not how it's done. I was like, okay, that's not how it's done. And then I started thinking like, why? Why is it not done this way? And I had to start questioning things. And I had to start really collaborating and taking what the school system was saying they could or could not do, and talking with the parents of my students and bringing that together and creating a plan that was just different. It was very, very different. And that's what I encourage you to do. So parents and teachers, if you're like, yes, I want all these strategies, I want all the layers, you like the things that I just touched on and how we can start to think differently and bring new solutions into IEP teams through knowledge and leadership and strategy, I want you to go ahead and follow the links below and join me on the next Master IEP Coach Fast Track, where we can get you ready to help others through the IEP process. I'll see you guys next time. Did you know that every time you leave a review or share an episode of the Special Education Inner Circle podcast out on social media, it makes a huge difference in helping more parents and teachers get simple special education strategies that can make a difference at their next IEP meeting? Please leave a review, share with a friend, and I'll see you next time.